Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. On November 14th local time, semiconductor equipment giant Applied Materials released its financial results for the fourth quarter and full fiscal year 2025, ending October 26, 2025. The report showed that the company's revenue for fiscal year 2025 reached $28.37 billion, a record high. However, behind this impressive performance lies a complex story regarding export controls. Applied Materials revealed that the previously tightened 50% equity penetration export control rule in the United States has been suspended. This policy change will allow its sales to China to recover to approximately $600 million in fiscal year 2026. Applied Materials delivered an overall strong performance for fiscal year 2025. Full-year revenue reached $28.37 billion, a 4% year-over-year increase, setting a new record. Annual GAAP earnings per share were $8.66 and non-GAAP earnings per share were $9.42, representing year-over-year increases of 1% and 9% respectively, also setting new records. However, the performance in the fourth fiscal quarter is slightly more complex. The company reported revenue of $6.8 billion for the quarter, a 3% year-over-year decrease. GAAP earnings per share were $2.38, a 14% year-over-year increase, but non-GAAP earnings per share were $2.17, a 6% year-over-year decrease. This discrepancy reflects the external challenges the company faces. Applied Materials CFO Bryce Hill stated, "Our customers indicate that spending on wafer fabrication equipment is likely to accelerate starting in the second half of 2026. In October, the U.S. announced a 50% equity penetration export control rule, stipulating that subsidiaries of companies listed on the entity list with 50% or more ownership will automatically be subject to the same export restrictions. This rule aims to close loopholes for circumventing regulations through subsidiaries, but it has had a profound impact on the global semiconductor supply chain. Applied Materials frankly stated that this new rule has made the delivery of some products and services to Chinese customers more complicated. In the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025, approximately $110 million worth of products failed to be delivered on schedule. Applied Materials CEO Gary Dickerson further explained that due to strengthened U.S. regulations, the company can no longer supply the Chinese memory chip and finished chip manufacturing markets. This restriction caused Applied Materials' sales share in the Chinese market to fall from nearly 40% to around 20%. Following the meeting between the leaders of China and the U.S. at the end of October, the export control situation improved. The aforementioned 50% ownership penetration rule was suspended. This policy change had an immediate positive impact on Applied Materials. The company confirmed that $110 million worth of products previously hindered by the new regulations would be shipped within the 3 months ending January 2026. More importantly, Applied Materials expects to recover approximately $600 million in sales to China throughout fiscal year 2026. This forecast has been directly incorporated into the company's fiscal year 2026 earnings guidance. Applied Materials forecast for the first fiscal quarter of 2026 is also optimistic. Revenue is expected to be $6.85 billion, plus or minus $500 million, higher than the average analyst expectation of $6.76 billion from the London Stock Exchange Group. Earnings per share, excluding one-time items, are expected to be $2.18 plus or minus 20 cents, also higher than the market expectation of $2.13. Despite the temporary easing of policies, Applied Materials executives remain concerned about the competitive environment. Gary Dickerson noted, non-US equipment companies are not subject to the same restrictions, so restricted customers can purchase products from these companies, even if they prefer to buy from Applied Materials. This statement reveals the asymmetric competition reality in the global semiconductor equipment market. When US companies are subject to export controls, their international competitors may gain an unfair market advantage. Applied Materials has stated that the new regulations will make it more difficult to export certain products and to provide specific components and services to some Chinese customers without a license. This restriction not only affects short-term revenue, but could also weaken the long-term competitiveness of US companies in the global market. Applied Materials expects to complete the previously blocked $110 million in product shipments in the quarter ending January 2026. With the recovery of $600 million in sales, Applied Materials' market share in China is expected to rebound. The competitive landscape of the global semiconductor supply chain remains complex. As Applied Materials points out, the asymmetric competitive environment, where non-US equipment companies are not subject to the same restrictions, remains a long-term challenge for US semiconductor equipment companies.